Welcome to the Thrive Club Co podcast. This episode that you're about to listen to is from the archives before our rebrand to Thrive Club Co. But the message we delivered then is still aligned with our core mission and core message today. Enjoy. Episode 6: How to Accept the Apology You'll Never Get. Welcome back, everyone, to the It's a Thrive podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Jade, where we dive headfirst into the good, bad, and the ugly of healing journeys. From overcoming mental blocks and conditioning to using neuroplasticity to rewire our brains, I invite you to join along and go from just surviving to absolute thriving. Let's dive in. Episode 6, and we are diving straight into February, which is so exciting for many reasons. And another big one that this is the first video podcast. So exciting. After some technical issues last week, I could not actually upload the video. It has been a very techie week for me on the It's a Thrive end, but super stoked and exciting. This is the first video episode, and I'm so excited to see how it goes and also hear feedback. The feedback that I had previously been hearing in the first month of the It's a Thrive podcast and the brand coming to life and fruition. Feedback I got was having a video element to the podcast. So went ahead and just did it, and really eager to hear what the comment and feedback is about it. Please make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any episode as we drop them every single week, and just to hear the commentary back as far as the visual aspect goes for this. So I can't believe we're also already in February. December, I blinked and it was January. January, I felt like I half blinked, and now we're already in February. But year's off to a great start, which is always exciting. February is also my birthday month, so this is pretty exciting for me. Actually, birthday is in less than a week now, turning the big 30, big 30, and I'm stoked about it to be in this new decade and chapter of life. But anyways, enough about me. We are on to episode 6 today: How to Accept the Apology That You Will Never Get. That statement in and of itself sounds ironic and controversial, as it is also juxtaposing the statement within the sentence. Because how are you accepting something that you never received? This topic, as I was thinking through the subjects to dive into in February, with Valentine's Day, there's so many aspects of love and self-love, partnerships, romance, and I really wanted to cultivate a lot of the episodes this month, not only in a sense of romantic love, but diving into self-love, diving into friendship love, partnership love, parental love, love in the world, and that whole aspect of love and relationships. And a huge part of that is the good and the bad side that we have all seen in relationships. And when love goes south, or when love goes awry, or when love starts to deplete. So I wanted to find that balancing point between those aspects of love and the other sides that we have all experienced very likely in relationships. And part of that is wrongdoings and forgiveness. So racking my brain about this week's episode, it kind of just snowballed, I feel like, from the past couple of weeks. I think it was episode 2 or 3 talking about self-love. And I'm thinking through, and something in my personal life had happened, I think, which was also a good little catapult to this idea behind accepting a non-apology. But how do you move on from not receiving an apology from someone who has wronged you? I think that we've all been in that boat, in that space, whether it's from a parent or a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife, a spouse, a friend, even a stranger. When someone wrongs you, and I'm not talking just hurting your feelings, but actively wronged you, did something emotionally traumatizing, physically, any type of violence in that aspect, or just something in a general scheme beyond just a mean comment maybe, but wronged you where you deserve a heartfelt, sincere apology. I think so many times we don't get that apology that we are deserving of, that you have earned an apology immediately upon someone doing wrong to you. That is an immediate thing that you have earned, undertaking that wrongdoing and not justifying or making that harm okay, but acknowledging that I deserve an apology, because in part it's taking ownership from that person who did that. But so many times, like, why do we not receive apologies from people? And I get that apologizing can definitely be hard. I think I struggled a lot with owning up and apologizing when I was in my early 20s, even for little stupid things, mistakes, because it meant owning up to not doing something right. And that scared me a lot when I was 22, 23 years old. But on a real deep level of apologizing in its most fragile states with other people's emotions on the line, why do people find such a hard time to apologize? And I was thinking back to this, like thinking about parents who have done wrong. My parents divorced when I was younger. I think a lot of people I know also around the same upbringing time, all of our parents got divorced as well. Not getting an apology for, divorces are messy, and not getting an apology from a parent who left a child, maybe your mother or father or your guardian left you or your siblings without really a reason or an answer. And having that source of abandonment, especially at such a young age, it's so impressionable upon a child and shapes them in their most fragile developmental years, So, and I think I relate to that in the sense of my father abandoning myself and my mother, and us really having to figure out life. And I know I dove into that in the last episode too, about accountability and taking ownership of your life. But yeah, having a parent who never owned up or apologized and said, I'm sorry for what I did and it was wrong and I apologize. It sounds like such a simple thing, and obviously that is not a band-aid to slap over any wrongdoings, but undeniably it is a start. And I think a reason why people find it hard in those situations to even apologize for not being there as a father, not being there as a mother, leaving your kids behind at a young age only to maybe come back into their life as adults, leaving them in their most fragile time of need as children. It's hard, I can imagine, for a parent to do that to their child, because it takes a level of accountability to have to own up to that action, to say, I fucked up as a parent and I left you and I'm sorry. And I think you can translate that into all other scenarios too. It's so much easier to not take accountability and own up for something that you did as deep as leaving a child behind and not caring for them in the way that a parent must do after bringing a child into the world. And I remember being younger and experiencing that and trying time and time and time and time again to try to get that apology in those brief years and those brief periods of time where there would be communication from that parent of mine, trying to get him to apologize and then never being able to receive it even after years, because I was so young and just wanted to have it be acknowledged that this and this was not okay. And I wanted that apology from such a young age because I didn't know how to proceed forward after it. We're still developing our brains at such a young age in adolescence that kind of don't know how to move on and heal from it, especially as your prefrontal cortex is developing and you're learning emotional stability and regulation habits. And yeah, I tried for so long to just get that to happen, and it just wouldn't, and to this day never has happened. And such a big chunk of time has gone by since those instances, which also means such a huge amount of time and opportunity to dive in to that question of, well, why do I feel I deserve that apology? And if I'm not going to get it, what now? What do I do? And we can see that same concept in relationships, like I touched, briefly on at first. But thinking back, we can all probably relate to a breakup that went south. I don't know a whole lot of breakups that end hyper peacefully, so to say. Ideally, it can be neutral, but regardless, like breakups just suck, even though it could be the best thing or the best choice to make, or it's still heartbreaking. I don't think there's any way around it. It's a painful experience for everyone. And I think we can all also relate in one way or another between a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband or a wife or your spouse or your partner. We've all felt wronged in some capacity in a relationship, whether that was something as serious or as, on one scale, a heated argument, to name calling, to verbal abuse, to emotional and mental abuse, to physical abuse, to cheating, to all of those different levels of things. We've all experienced some type of wrongdoing in a relationship where we felt or thought, I deserve an apology for that. And I think one of the craziest things is that when you break up, often, a lot of times, there is the difficulty of going no contact. And, I was not so successful at that in my younger years at all. And that can be difficult. But the times where you do go no contact and that bridge is cut off, it can be even harder to almost get that apology because there is no contact. So we're blocking someone because maybe that's the best way to go about it. It's like, dang. And there's so much bitterness that boils to the surface, I think, in breakups, where it can be hard and cloud the judgment of ownership or knowing when to apologize and being sincere about it. And it can be hard to face never getting apologies that you deserve, or from experience, getting an apology that is the most insincere cookie cutter apology that was so scripted, not even from them. And I remember receiving an apology after, a very violent, tumultuous night after, it was a horrible, crazy time. I was early 20s, and there was substances that I didn't know about that were involved from this former partner, and shit went south and kicked him out. And then after sobriety kicked in for him, getting an apology. But that was just the most lack of a real apology. It was saying the words without having any meaning or accountability behind it. Because also, if you are incapacitated and you don't remember what you did to hurt someone, how can you really take ownership over that and be accountable for it, So we've all experienced, needing to have that apology from a partner or former partner and not getting it. So my whole point wrapping around this is thinking back to the times where you were wronged, and maybe even today you still think I deserve that apology, or I would love to one day get that apology. But having to come to the moment to accept, I'm not getting this apology. I haven't gotten it. I'm going to go into this mindset that I'm not getting it, and I'm going to be okay with it. I accept the non-apology. It's not an easy process to do. And I'll be the first to say it does not happen overnight, and it does not happen by just saying it once. It is very much you have to continue to keep at it, to remind yourself. There was something that my therapist had shared with me last year for me was a huge internal space of a goal of mine was learning how to forgive. And truly, for the first time, I felt like I one knew how to define forgiveness for me, and just having a good understanding and a bearing grounding of what forgiveness meant. And my therapist had told me that every time you remember, forgive. Every time you remember what someone did to you, this event or what happened or how you felt, acknowledge it, accept it, and forgive it, to let it go, to take back your power. So in that same essence, it's not going to be that I've moved on and I never think about it again. We're all human. We all have, I just heard some crazy statistic about how many thoughts per hour the average human has. And I don't remember the exact number right now, but it was pretty fucking high. We think a lot. We have a lot of thoughts throughout the day. So it's inevitably going to be a thought in your mind at some point, and it's going to pop up. So don't trick yourself into thinking that it's not. That's okay if it does. Kind of like the not so fun emotions like anger or sadness or grief. They're going to pop up as part of our normal human experience, but it's how we proceed with them and how we move forward from them that matter the most. So you're going to still think about these things of, well, I didn't get that apology from them. So every time you remember that, remembering why you accept the non-apology and moving on for you. I think the biggest thing at the first and foremost is knowing that the person who did the wrongdoing, you're not justifying it. You're not making it okay. What you are doing is saying that I acknowledge that. I accept that that was real. I accept that my pain that I experienced was real. I don't need you to apologize to me in order for me to begin the healing process. That is the biggest starting point. Because let me tell you, baby girl, if you wait for that person to apologize, you will be waiting your whole entire life for an apology or for waiting on someone that you will likely never receive it from. It is not worth waiting your entire life to maybe receive an apology in order to then heal for yourself. Because then you're just on someone else's timeline and you're no longer in your power of owning your own life. You become a slave in the mindset to, well, will they apologize today? Will they apologize today? It's like a place of limbo to be in. We've all experienced it at some point, usually like immediately after a traumatic experience of waiting for a resolution or an apology or something, like something to kickstart that healing process. But I promise you, if you wait for someone to take accountability and ownership and own up for their actions and apologize and start that forgiveness journey, if you wait for that to choose to start your healing process through it, you will be healing in a negative way for an entire lifetime. That journey has to begin first and foremost with yourself. And part of that is the acceptance that it happened, that it wasn't okay. And I don't need that person to apologize in order for me to be okay. That I can be okay exactly as I am. I can be okay and move on from harmful experiences. I can be okay and be safe in the space, in the skin that I am in. That I can be okay even after people have hurt me. Because I am okay and I will always be okay. And no outside or negative influence outside of my hemisphere and my circle can influence or impact that. It's really powerful things to repeat to yourself and to say to yourself, to believe it. I think a huge proponent in this whole guideline of accepting a non-apology, write it all down, journal it, even if it's bullet points or notes. I'm a weird journaling person. I love to journal, but sometimes it is the hardest freaking thing to just sit down and put the pen on paper and to just go. And something that I loved and learned about in therapy was, she just said one day, some days I write 3 to 5 pages. Other days I just write fuck, fuck, fuck. And that's my journal entry, because no one's keeping a tab or a record of how you journal. That's for you. That's the whole purpose of it. And that's a reminder to myself too but to take bullet point notes, or just, even if it's chicken scratch, write it down and write it out. Get it out from your mind onto a physical asset of pen and paper. It's a very freeing experience too, and there is a releasing of it from your mind throughout your hand onto something physical that you can see outside of your mind. Write it down. Write how you feel about it, why it wasn't okay. And at the end, acknowledge that even without this apology, I am okay. Repeat the affirmations to yourself that I will be more than okay. I will be so much more than okay, because my happiness, my joy, my health, my wealth, my abundance, my life, my healing journey, my forgiveness even, does not rely on the apology or from any other external factors. That I can choose to move on at my own pace and not rely on the pace of another person to wake up and be accountable. It's incredibly freeing, and it's also incredibly challenging to do. And there's definitely diligence in the whole prospect of it. Diligence in, especially when you're adding the neuroplasticity factor of it, you're training your brain how to accept it, and while not making it okay. And I can't stress that enough, because I think that was something I had to remind myself of during forgiveness and acceptance and moving on with a non-apology was, but it's not okay, but it's not okay. And that can live in the same hemisphere of accepting that something happened. It can have happened and it can have not been okay. But the big picture is that I can move on still, and I can continue to be okay. It's really an incredibly freeing process, even though the journey is difficult. That's what thriving is all about, because survival mode's a sticky situation and a harsh place to be in, but it's not fun. It's debatably harder to be stuck in that mode in the long term, rather than diving and doing that deeper work and then just facing it head on, head first, and doing it and accomplishing it. Because the life on the other side of it is like a breath of fresh air, and it's so absolutely incredible. And I'm also really curious to hear about everyone watching, for your experience. Have you also been in situations between exes or parents or friends or whoever in your life where you've had to just come to terms somehow of, I'm not going to get an apology from this person, even though I deserve it? How can I be okay? Have you reached that point where you are okay? And if you're on that roadblock right now, I definitely encourage you to do the process of going through it, of accepting it, and knowing that that person's not ready to even forgive themselves or acknowledge what wrong they did to you. So they're sure as hell not going to apologize to me if they can't even say it to themselves. And there's almost this weird sense of, I feel bad, or I can pity you, and feel bad that you can't even own up to it. Your existence and having to live with that wrongdoing must be pretty difficult. And although what happened to me was wrong, at least I can choose to continue to live my life, to thrive, to choose to find a way of happiness and loving life, and not be stuck in not being able to face ownership for my actions. It's a really interesting stone to uncover, 100%. But I'm very curious and so open to comments, and whoever wants to further this discussion topic, please drop some comments in here, reach out to the DMs, message me over, and keep the conversation rolling. But that is a wrap as far as today's topic goes. Thank you so much, everyone who tunes in and listens. This is also super exciting to do the first video, and I'm just super excited. And if you have any feedback or commentary, if you liked or disliked or want to see something different with the video, drop it in the comments here. So Please make sure that you are subscribing and check back in next week. But in the meantime, do not forget it. It is not just a vibe, it is a thrive. And it is your job to make sure you're living a healthy, beautiful, thriving life. Thank you so much, everyone.